Hello, I'm Kads, and welcome to today's video. First off, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since my last upload, about a month, and once again, I was on work travel for nearly that whole month. But just like last time, I was still active and playing in the game, and I managed to accomplish some pretty cool things over that period, so I'm going to talk about a few of those in today's video. I'll also leave it to you guys down in the comment section down below if you'd like to hear more details about any of the things we're going to talk about in today's video. Then I can make a separate deep dive video on those elements. So let me know down in the comment section below. So there are a few items on this list. I'm going to try and go in chronological order, but I cannot guarantee that I remember exactly how things went down over the past month or so. So first off, I do want to mention that earlier last month, we did have the Razelvarg Fusion, and I was able to complete that. So there's a Fusion plan video out for that one, but no, I don't think there was a check-in or anything like that I normally like to do. So that video wasn't made, but Razelvarg was completed, and it wasn't too bad. I think it was a little costly gem-wise towards the end, maybe probably with a Dungeon Divers event, but nonetheless, Razelvarg is completed. Just like with every Fusion, I did document all of the milestones as well as some of what I spent on the Fusion in parentheses, including silver amounts for the artifact enhancement and shard count for the respective shard events. So if you want to get a link to the spreadsheet, will be in the description box down below. But this is the Fusion event for Razelvarg and what it took for me to get him. So after the Razelvarg Fusion ended, the following weekend was 2 times Void. And as usual, as the tome chaser that I am, I was going for the 3,000 points legendary tome. It only took me 20 shards, which is astonishingly low, because I got super lucky and I managed to get within those shards a legendary. And here she is, Blind Seer. Have her in a very basic Relentless set. I don't really plan to use her in anywhere in particular, but I'm quite fond of this champion overall. I think her A1's kind of cool. It's not as strong as Allure, but it's pretty decent as far as reducing turn meter. She's also an AoE reviver, and then she has the shield and the block debuff, so more annoying in like enemy waves, but still decent as a champion. So avoid legendary. Those are rare and hard to come by, so I'll take whatever I can get. However, I did also manage to pull an epic. Where is he? A Chemtum. Here he is. So we did get the Poison Cat here. Is already booked as of the previous CVC, and I will be working on a new spider team featuring him, based on stuff I've seen from Saf, from HH Gaming, and maybe Tyraku as well. Just a couple videos here and there. I'm going to try and combine the knowledge from those videos and make my own team based on those. So switching gears here, we're going to hop over to the Doom Tower. Now on hard, I've beaten all rotations, and that's more of an accomplishment for last year, but this time was the first time that I beat all of the secret rooms on the second rotation of the Doom Tower. So we're going to look at a few of those. I'm not going to do the runs, but I finally got enough unique stun pieces to build out entire teams for all of these secret rooms. So this is the team that I used to beat the Rare Spirit Secret Room. And we have a stun set on Soulbound Boyar, who's an AoE on the A1. We have a stun set on Abyssal, who has an AoE A1 as well. You're sensing a pattern here. We have Gnarlhorn in a regen set, so he can provoke and keep himself alive. We have Marquess in a DPS build with some high defense, high crit damage, etc. And then we have Berserker here in also a stun set, but also built to do some damage. So 3 stun sets, a provoker, and then 1 DPS champion for that room. After that, I also beat the Secret Room 9 up here, where we have the rare attack. Now, I've beaten this one in the past. It was just a lot harder than it was this go around, and so you can see some of the same champions here, but a couple of different ones as well, specifically Elhain and Kale. So in this case, I have 4 stun sets, so the same stun set on Soulbound Boyar as well as Berserker, and the stun set I had previously on Elhain and Kale, the starter champions, and then War Maiden is just kind of in a generic DPS debuffer type build with some damage. So decreased defense, and then 4 stun sets to be able to beat that room in a really relatively short amount of a low amount of turns. So 50 turns there, so pretty quick. I think the first time I beat this, it took, I don't know, maybe 2 hours of attempts trying to get the RNG from the stun sets to line up, and so that was that was painful. But this was a lot quicker. I think it took like 2 or 3 attempts, so much faster and a lot less turns overall. And lastly, probably the most surprising one was that I also beat Secret Room number 12 here, which is rare magic champions only. So once again, you're going to see a lot of familiar faces, but we have Kale and Elhain both in a stun set. Then we have the addition of Banshee here, who has 2 AoEs, one AoE on the A1 and one AoE, I think, on her A3 or A2, I forget which. But so 3 stun sets here. We have Fleshmonger in, who's basically the proxy for War Maiden. He has a AoE decreased defense on a 4-turn cooldown, but he also has this extra turn ability, so sometimes he can cycle a bit quicker, but only 75% chance to land. But for something as RNG heavy as a secret room, that's all you really need. And I also use him for faction wars as well as my primary debuffer. So we have decreased defense. He's not really built for damage, he's just built to stay alive. 3 stun sets, and then this slot is technically meant for Judge, but I don't have a stun set for him just yet. I'm working on that, waiting for gear from Fire Knight. But in lieu of that, I put in Apothecary, who I just kind of have in a generic fast Healy build. And so he healed up a lot of the champions because they got a lot of turns, because I'm missing that extra stun set. And Judge also has some turn meter boosting abilities and stuff like that. I think Judge is down here. So I was able to pull this off, shockingly, to my surprise, but Apothecary worked, and he healed up the people who took damage from the waves, and we were able to get that one done as well. 136 turns, so a bit longer, and it'll probably be a lot faster with Judge, and just, again, having the 4 stun sets instead of just the 3. So sticking with the Doom Tower theme, although in this case, I want to talk about Rotation 3, which is upcoming. I did finally finish buying all of the fragments for Yakarl the Scourge, so I do have him in my up-and-coming Dark Fae team, and I have him built in a reflex set. So he is primarily going to be on the boss stage, where he can use this ability here. He can't obviously place freeze on the boss, but he can steal 100% of the turn meter, and he gives himself increased speed. And since I'm going to turn off the AoE freeze, because we don't need it, because Herndig's job is to kill the mirror copy, so I don't have to worry about that. So he's just going to focus on the A1, where he can do a little bit of damage, but mostly reflex set is going to reduce the cooldown on Blizzard Rider here, making it potentially a 2-turn cooldown every once in a while, and he can just be stealing turn meter left and right and really controlling her down. So that was the change that I made to that team, and I'm going to test it out when Rotation 3 begins, because I've beaten floor 120 on hard Rotation 3, but it's not nowhere near 100% success rate, probably closer to like 50-40%. So I usually just run it a few times until it wins, and then I drop back down to floor 80 to actually farm some of the lethal gear from Dark Fae. So he took the spot of my second Cold Heart, who I used to have in a reflex set, and I stole her gear and put it on Yakarl, essentially, with some reworking. But I still have my primary Cold Heart, who's still in a reflex set. I have a Royal Guard, who's in a reflex set. Herndig's just in a Perception and Cruel, and Allure is just in some fast gear, not really anything special, just speed, full crit rate, and enough accuracy to suppress the turn meter of the Dark Fae. So in a couple weeks, when I get all the way back up to floor 120 on Rotation 3 after it begins, I'll be able to test out this team on stage 120 and see how close to 100% success I can get. It doesn't necessarily need to be 100% success, but a lot better than 50 is at least the bare minimum that I'm looking for. So I'm excited to see that. And yeah, kind of get to showcase Yakarl in all his glory in one of his best areas, and he's free from the clan shop. So if you can spend the 20 weeks it's going to take to get his fragments, he's probably worth it, and I think it'll be an exciting venture. So excited to see where that goes. If you were curious, Cold Heart 2 has not been retired or anything. She has just been repurposed into a destroy set to speed up my Scarab King run. So you can see here I do have a Blood Shield ring on her as a Dark Elf, and she's in the destroy set with pretty high speed and enough accuracy to keep the turn meter down for the Scarab King, but also smack down his shield with the enemy max HP hits. Now with those items out of the way, now we can finally get to more of the present day events going on in the game. Obviously we do have the Fragment Summon event for Jetni the Giant, who I think is an okay champion. She kind of feels like a super War Maiden to me, but she has a stun on the A1 that can also place decreased defense, 2-hitter. She has a AoE here that ignores some defense and places decreased defense. Gets a bit stronger, can't be resisted if she's with her companion champion, but as he is another legendary, you may or may not have him for a long time or ever. And then on the A3, she has another AoE where she gives herself increased crit rate and increased crit damage and then attacks. And if you have the companion, this grants an extra turn if it kills an enemy. So decent DPS. This one's a little bit unfortunate that it's on a 4-turn cooldown, meaning that her buffs won't last long enough for you to cycle back to it, and thus you will not be full crit rate on like the second turn. Therefore, you still have to build her with full crit rate, so it kind of defeats the purpose of her giving herself increased crit rate. At least increased crit damage is always beneficial, but the increased crit rate buff is kind of pointless if you can't sustain it on yourself the whole time. So that's a bit of a rip there. And then, of course, her passive here, where she does 20% more damage against targets under shield, so it that should stack to a degree with the Shield Breaker Mastery, so she can definitely be a counter to Bolster, or at least being able to do a lot more damage to champions under Bolster. So she can be good for that, and again, she's kind of like a super War Maiden. A little bit more dangerous with the polymorph meta, so you don't necessarily want to be placing debuffs on your nukers, so you might not want to build her for accuracy if she's just a full-out nuker, but maybe just enough to get some or break the defense on some of the lower resistance or non-polymorph nukers. Maybe that might be the way to go. So I think she's like a B-, C+ overall. But as you know, if any of you have been watching for a while, you know I do all fusions. I don't really care about their quality necessarily, because at the very least she's a fragment summon champion that could be summoned later on in the future, just like my collection down here where I still have Rorik from way back, maybe like 2 years ago now. Still have Supreme Elhain in here, a couple of daily logins, all my Doom Tower champions, Yannicka as well, Gerda. So got a bunch of champions here, Doom Tower and logins that I can use whenever I need a big boost of 500 points for some sort of champion chase event in the future. So I don't mind doing a little bit of effort pulling some shards in order to get Jetni, just so she can join the queue of backlog champions who are here who can help out in a champion chase where I just don't feel like pulling shards in the future. So as you'd expect, just like with Razelvarg, I do also have the Jetni Fusion here in my plan here. And again, this spreadsheet will be in the description box down below if you want to take a look at it. But similar format where we have all the events cataloged day by day. And we are currently on day 6. We are currently on day 6 here. So the 16th of May, at least in my time zone. And so we're in the midst of things, and you can kind of focus down here and say, hey, these are the things that I'm going to be focusing my energy on during the fusion. And again, you can see different things, how many shards I plan to spend or have spent, particularly on the Summon Rush. I did the 4 Sacreds, 150 Mysteries for the 2150, spent 16 million silver on the first artifact enhancements, etc., etc. So you can kind of see this is what I plan to do going forward for the Jetni Fusion. So if you want to deep dive on this plan and other things like that, then let me know again in the comment section down below. So as I mentioned, there was a 10x Summon Rush as part of the Jetni Fusion, and like I said, I pulled 4 Sacreds and 150 Mystery Shards. But during that session, which I really wish I had recorded, but I couldn't because, again, I was away on work travel, but we did manage to get the elusive Duck the Pierced. RNGesus was with us for one day, finally. So this epic who I've been chasing for probably over a year and a half, finally got him. So he's recently 6-starred because we do have a champion training event going on right now. And finally, he was obtained. He's been eluding me for a long time, and again, long watchers of the channel know that I've pretty much said he's been on the wish list every single shard pull video where I can get non-void epics. So finally, that grind is over. So I turned my attention to a couple of other epics that we might talk about in a subsequent video when we talk about the POGO event going on, so stay tuned for that. But finally, Duck the Pierced, the curse is broken, and ironically, which I find kind of funny, even though I only pulled 4 Sacreds and then got 4 Epics, which is not a bad thing overall, I managed to get a dupe of Duck the Pierced. So, you know, you only have to wait 2 years, and then you'll finally get 2 of the Epics that you want. So there you go. 2 Duck the Pierced, 2 out of 4 Sacreds, and yeah, that grind is finally over. So the last item for today's video is going to be the POGO event going on right now, and POGO stands for Pull One, Get One. So if you do pull a legendary from Ancient Shards in this case, you will get a second legendary who cannot be a duplicate of the first one that you obtained. So this event is always good for those more towards the end game where you have either a lot of shards like I happen to do. And again, as always, these are free to play obtained. I just don't pull that many shards and I save them for stuff like this. Or it's for people who have meticulously tracked their Mercy, and so you know exactly where you are relative to Mercy, and so you can use that to your advantage and be able to pull less shards if you're close, and get 2 legendaries for the price of 1. So if I flip on my Mercy tracker here, you can see that we are at just about 120 Ancients in, meaning that it will take me a maximum of 100 Ancients to pull all the way up to Mercy to get a legendary. And so I'm guaranteed to get 2 in 100 shards, which is a 1 in 50 rate, which is half of a 2x. So for me, again, in the position of being in the end game, having a lot of shards, this is a great deal. So I'm definitely going to go for that. And that will be in a video coming out later today. But it's also worth noting that I'm also in Mercy for my Sacred, so 7 deep. And so I'll be hoping for a good 10x sometime in the near future. And maybe I'll take a chance and try and go for somebody if it's good. So that's where I am with my Mercy tracker. Alrighty, so that's going to do it for today's video. Like I said at the top of the video, I am back and I should not, hopefully, be going on travel anytime soon, so the content will resume as normal. Like I also mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you want to see a deep dive on any of the things we talked about in this video, so looking at the gear of the Secret Room rares, or looking at the gear for my new Dark Fae team, or the new Spider team, or some deep dives on the Jetni Fusion plan, let me know in the comment sections down below, and I can make that happen for you guys. As always, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to hit that like button down below, as well as that subscribe button for more videos like this one in the future. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're halfway there, maybe over halfway there, about 60% of the way, and I'd like to hit that ideally by the end of 2023. So if you'd like to help out with that goal, then be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.